Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear sir and my dear friends, hope you are doing well by the grace of Almighty Allah. Today I am going to present an overview of Morphology 2. Linguistics competence involves the ability to construct and interpret words in one's native language. In average, high school students know about 60,000 words whose form and meaning are not derived from those of other words. Such words including read, language, on cold, and if, to name but a few, must be learned and stored as separate items in the lexicon category. However, countless other words can be constructed and comprehended by the application of quite general rules to more basic words. For example, any speaker of English who knows the verb fixed recognizes fixed and as its past tense form and can construct and interpret words such as flexible and fixed machine. The system of categories and rules involved in word formation and interpretation makes up a language morphology. This report presents an overview on how the formation happened in linguistics. Let's have a look on morphs. What is morph? A morph is a word segment that represents one morpheme. So we have to know what is morpheme. A morpheme is the smallest unit of language that has meaning. So a morph is a word segment that represents one morpheme in sound or writing. It's a written or pronounced portion of a word, such as an affix, a prefix or suffix. The term morph specifically to the phonological realization of a morpheme. A morph is simply the phonetic representation of morpheme. For example, we can say cats, dogs, houses. Those various pronunciations are the morphs of the morpheme S. Now let's have a look of type of morphs. A morph that can stand alone is a word is called a free morph. For example, big. Big is an adjective and walk is a verb and the noun is home. They are free morphs. Root words may or may not be free morphs. For example, the root in the word construction is stra, meaning to build. The word also contains the prefix con and ion, the latter of which shows that the word is a noun. A morph that can't stand alone as a word is called a bound morph. The endings er as in bigger and ed as in walked and s as in homes are bound morphs, or we can call it affixes. Now let's have a look on morphemes. A morpheme is the smallest unit of a word that has meaning. It may be a word like place or an element of a word like re and end in repaired. So for example, we can have a look on talks, talker, talked, talking. These three are individual words. Now we can see s, er, ed and ing. So they are separate from add s, er, ed and ing. So they are different morphemes. Morpheme is a minimal unit of meaning or grammatical function. Example reopened. Here there are three morphemes: re, open and ed. Variants of a morpheme are called allomorphs. The ending s indicating in cats, dogs and is in dishes, and then and of oxen are all allomorphs of the plural morpheme. Highlights. Morphs are portions of a word such as affixes. Morphs that are also whole words are called free morphs. The different sound that pronounce a morph are its allomorphs. A morpheme is a description such as a past tense verb ending. This morpheme is often represented by the morpheme morph ed. Criteria. Morpheme is a short segment of language that meets three criteria. Those three are very important. 1. A word or part of word that has meaning. So in morpheme, it can be a word but it have a meaning. The second one, it cannot be divided into smallest meaningful part. For example, we can say talk. So we can't divide it into talk, T, A and LK. Here talk is a morph. It recurs in differing verbal environments with a relatively stable meaning. For example, we can say unlikely. Here un, like and ly. Here there are three morphemes. Kinds of morphological process. The general term for grammatical morphs is affix. Generally, an affix is a string x in a string y that puts itself somewhere in x. Given the terminology below, it is either a prefix, a suffix or an affix. Some writers use it in more general sense, but we shall not do that. Morphs are not always affixes, however. A morph need not be a piece, string that we add somewhere. It may be simple a certain kind of change effected on the string in question, like vowel change. The general term for all of those is morphological change. We shall give a few examples of what kind of morphological changes there are in the language of the world. Suffixes and prefixes. A suffix is a string that is added at the end. A prefix is a string that is added at the beginning. English has mostly suffixes, derivational ones like ation, is, e, inflections ones like as and the. It also has prefixes. D, re, an are prefixes. It is generally agreed that if we use an analogy with syntax here, the affix is the head and that it either aspects the string on its right prefix or on its left suffix. Let's see more details of suffixes. A suffix is not a word, but it adds to the change the meaning of a root or basic word, making the word longer. It also shows the way a word is used, formed and changed into another word with a different meaning to suit the text and time to the context. In addition, a suffix also transforms the grammatical rule of lexis by changing nouns into adjective or making verbs of noun. The reason that a suffix has an important impact on the meaning of the words. For example, we can say forget, use, suffix full. When we suffix full, we can find forgetful, useful. State, govern is a main word. When we use suffix mean, we can find statement, government. Like complete, create, when you use suffix ion, we can find the new word complication, creation. The new word is most often a different word class from the original word. In the table above, the suffix full has changed verb to adjective, meant and I when have changed verb to noun. If you see a word ending in ment, for example, it is likely to be a noun. For example, we can say commitment, contentment. Types of suffix. There are two kinds of suffix. The first one is derivational suffix and the second one is inflectional suffix. Derivational suffix. This type of suffix changes the meaning of a word, making it a different parts of speech. For instance, when ly is added to an adjective, it transforms its meaning as well as its own type and makes it an adverb. Inflectional suffix. Inflectional suffix transforms the base word into a different tense but without changing its meanings. For instance, by adding s to the noun dog, it only changes the number of animals, not the meaning of the word. Let's have a look example of suffix. The first one is noun suffix. EER. It has a meaning engaged in something, associated with something. For example, volunteer, engineer, profiteer. ER. ER meaning someone who performs an action. Example, helper, teacher, dancer. ION. ION means the action and process of celebration, opinion, decision, revision. Adjective suffix. Able, able. It has meaning like capable of being. For example, we can say preventable, adaptable, predictable, creditable. AL meaning pertaining to, we can say theoretical, natural, criminal, seasonal. Anti, it has a meaning inclined to or tending to. For example, we can say vigilant, defiant, brilliant, brilliant. Adverb suffix. Ly. Ly means in what manner something is being done, like bravely, simply, honestly, gladly. Word. Word means in a certain direction, backward, wayward, backward, afterward. Wise. Wise means in relation to. For example, we can say cookwise, lengthwise, otherwise. Now have a look on prefix. A prefix is a letter or a group of letters attached to the beginning of a word, or we can say word root, that partly indicates its meaning. For example, the word prefix itself begins with the prefix pre, which generally means before or in front of. By contrast, a letter or group of letters attaching to the end of a word is called a suffix. Many of today's English words contains prefixes from Greek or Latin. Understanding the meaning of the most common prefixes can help us reduce the definition of new words that we run across in our reading, especially knowing that they can make a word mean its opposite, such as the difference between possible and impossible. Still, we do need to be careful. The same prefix may be spelled in more than one way, pre and pro, for instance, and some prefixes, such as in, have more than one meaning. In this case, not or without, but choose in or into. Even so, being able to recognize prefixes can help us build our vocabularies. Some common prefixes: O2, self, same, anybody, autopilot, autobiography, automobile, autofocus. Circum, around, about, circumstance. Co, with, together, co-pilot, co-worker, coexist, co-author. Circumfixes. The circumfix consists of a part that is being added before the word and another that is added thereafter. It is thus a combination of prefix and suffix. The German perfect is a circumfix. In Indonesian language, we can, for example, we can say besar. It means big. It's a steam word and it's a noun form. When we added kebesaran, it means the biggest, the greatest. This is an example of circumfixes. It consists in the prefix ge and a suffix which changes from steam to steam. Usually it is en or t. The infinitive is a suffix n, s can be formed the table below. In the table we can see sehen is infinitive, se is root, and the perfect is gehesen. Back is infinitive and back is root, and the perfect is gebeken. Filmen, fil, gefilmen. Hausen, house, gehaust. The superlative in Hungarian also a circumfix. Nege, great, negeglebol and greatest. Feher, white, lekferebeb, whitest. Here, as in the German perfect, the circumfix has two identifiable parts. The suffix is found also in the comparative. Infixes. One of the characteristics of English words is that any modification to them occur at the beginning or the end, not in the middle. Mix can have something added at the beginning, remix, or at the end, mixes, mixer, but never in the middle, called infixes. Infixes insert themselves inside the string. Look at the following data from Charo, a Vietnam language. VOH, no, Vanu H, wise, KH, remember, and Kana H, leftover. Transfixes. A transfix is an even more complex entity. We give an example from Egyptian Arabic. Roots have three consonants, for example, kitab, to write, and drs, to study. Words are formed by adding some materials in from prefixes, some materials after suffixion, and some material in between inflection. Moreover, all these typically happen at the same time. Other kinds of changes. Reduplication. Reduplication is the phenomenon where a string is copied and added. For example, if ABC or is a string, then its Austronesian languages like to use reduplication or something even triplication for various purposes to form the plural, to identify a verb, to derive nouns and so on. The following is from Indonesian. Orang, orang is man, orang-orang, men. Anak, child, anak-anak means children. Mata means eye, and mata-mata means spy. Morphology versus syntax. There is no way to predict whether some piece of meaning is expressed by a morpheme or by a separate lexeme or both. There exist huge differences across languages. Some languages pack all kind of meaning into the verb. Some keep everything separate. Most languages are somewhere in between. Morphology is more or less important. However, even within one language itself, the means to express something change. There are three forms of adjective in English: positive, normal form, comparative, form of simple comparison, and superlative, form of absolute comparison. Now look at the when you get form. When it's comparative, it means higher, and in superlative, we can call highest. Like fast, faster, faster, common, more common, most common, good, better, best, bad, worse, worst. The first set of adjective takes suffixes 0 for the positive, er for the comparative, and est for the superlative. The second set of adjective take a separate word which is added in form more and most. The third set is irregular. The adjective good changes the root in the comparative and superlative before adding the suffix. What syntax gets to see? We have seen above the comparative of adjective is sometimes formed by adding a morpheme and sometimes by using a separate word. It is unfortunate, for from a scientific perspective, there is not much of a difference between the two. It is for this reason and others that one has sought to expand the scope of syntax downwards into morphology. Linguistics, one used to think of the form or thing or as a verb from with some features, thus a synthetically indecomposable whole. Nowadays, however, one sees or thinks or as synthetically complex. We have seen above that the form of words can carry complex and highly structured information. Words do not serve simply as minimal signs, arbitrary chunks of sound that bear meaning simply by virtue of being distinct from one another. Some aspects of a word from many may indicate the relation of its underlying lexeme to others, maker of derivational morphology or of compound structure, while others indicate properties of the grammatical structure within which is found marks or inflection properties. That's all for today. Thanks for watching my video. If you like it, like, comment and share. Thanks again. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.